Hello everyone, welcome to Grammar with Gitanjali. Today we are going to learn about two very important relative pronouns, that is who and whom. Firstly, who and whom are used to refer to a person or people mentioned earlier. Secondly, both who and whom can play a role of a conjunction and connect two separate clauses. Thirdly, who acts like a subject of the coming clause and whom acts like an object of the coming clause. Now let us take an example and see how who and whom gets implemented. In this sentence, Asher wrote a letter to a pen pal whom he had never met. In this sentence, we have to decide whether we got to use who or whom. Before making the decision, let us be very clear that who and whom they have divided the sentence into two separate clauses. So definitely there are going to be two separate main verbs. So the first step is to identify the verbs of both the clauses. So the first verb is wrote of the first clause and the second verb is had. Now coming over to the second step. The second step is to identify the subjects of both the verbs. In this case, Ashu is the subject of the verb wrote and he becomes the subject of the verb had. Now, since we have subjects for both the verbs, it means the coming clause, the second clause, does not require a subject, rather, it requires an object. So, the correct relative pronoun that we should be using here comes out to be whom, because whom is the relative pronoun that acts like an object of the second clause. I hope you understand this. Now, let us take another example and see how it goes. The people whom just boarded the plane are in a rock band. Now, again, we know who and whom act like conjunction. Therefore, definitely we are talking about two separate clauses with their own individual main verbs. In this case, the first verb that we come across is boarded, and the second verb that we come across is are. So please see that here are is not playing a role of a helping verb, rather it is playing a role of a linking verb. Now, the second step is to identify the subject of the verb, because remember, verbs cannot come without their subjects. They may or may not have objects, but they must have a subject. Now, in this case, the people becomes the subject of the verb boarded. And as we see, we are not able to find any subject of the verb are. There is no subject of the verb are. It means this is the verb that requires a subject. Therefore, who is the appropriate option? As we know that who can act like subject of the second clause. Now, one more example is there. So let me explain you the concept with the help of this example too. The cousin whom we met at the family reunion is coming to visit. Again, the first step is to identify the verbs of both the clauses. In this case, the verb is met. The first verb is met, and the second verb is coming. Is a helping verb, and coming is a main verb. Again, let us look for the subjects of both the verbs. Let us see if we have subjects of both the verbs. Now here, met. the verb met. Okay. So here we is a pronoun that is acting like the subject of the verb met. Now let us see if is coming is also having a subject. Yes, it does have a subject. The cousin becomes the subject of the verb is coming. It means both the verbs have their own subjects. They don't require a subject. So we must provide an object to the second clause. Therefore, again, whom becomes the correct option, whom becomes the appropriate relative pronoun that we should be using. Hope you got an insight about both the relative pronouns who and whom. If you really feel that this video has added some value to your grammar concepts, then feel free to share and don't forget to subscribe.